Our next guest on the Any Given Run Day podcast not cycled, ran the Ring of Kerry for ACT for Meningitis on September 19th last month. As a recording has raised €12,500 so far. Sean Collier, welcome to this week's episode of the Any Given Run Day podcast. How are you getting on?
Hi guys, yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm getting on well, recovering well, so yeah, all good.
Do you not like bikes, Sean, or what is it?
I do like bikes, yeah. I cycled the Ring of Kerry before, but sure, it's always intriguing to I suppose, challenge yourselves a little more.
I have something there. I know we always go back, but I have to ask now, haven't cycled it before, mentally preparing to run it. How different was that?
A little different for sure, yeah, a little different. I suppose the prep for the cycle was finishing work at 6 o'clock in the evening, into a van down the night before. I think we had 12 cans of Guinness the night before, and then jumped on a bike and away we went. So a little bit different than doing it this time.
When we look at preparation, obviously you've come at this, everyone always kind of likes to know, where did you start so they can compare? Oh, well, he's been doing it 20 years. No wonder he can do the Ring of Kerry. Where did sport start for you? How did you get into running?
Sport, I suppose, like a lot of people on this podcast, and yourselves included, it starts with the Gaelic football, the club scene underage, and yeah, loved club football. Played with a local club in County Meath, St. Colin Kills, and we were right up to senior level, and just loved it. But I always had a background of running in school, secondary school, and stuff like that, and always enjoyed running. Always enjoyed athletics. I suppose there was getting out of school element as well was always a big draw. So I would have done a lot of sports just to get out of school. But yeah, no, running was always a big thing in the background of the sport, and the Gaelic kind of took precedence for a long time. And then when I finished Gaelic, I suppose started 30, probably 32, injuries started to come, and then I just kind of gravitated towards CrossFit and running, I suppose, then as well.
The transition to running, obviously, and again, we ask everyone, the pacing and learning how to run properly and not after a ball. The mind game element of that, transitioning into that, how was that?
Yeah, it was quite easy, to be honest, because chasing the ball it's all harder than being able to run in a straight line. You know what I mean? And I was probably one of those players that played in the centre positions, and I suppose I could get up and down the field all right, but I probably wasn't the fastest from A to B, if you get me. But I could move all day, and I
Yeah.
suppose I always kind of had that engine. And then cross country in school obviously was I was fed into that as well. So the pacing was always good, but I wouldn't call myself a 5K athlete for sure. I'd more like to gather myself in the first 2 or 3K, and you don't get that chance, I suppose, when you're going for a 5K race or that, or even a 10K race these days. There's not much lead time or warm up time, I suppose.
Sean, you mentioned something there that hasn't been mentioned too much in this podcast in 200 odd episodes. CrossFit. Well,
Yeah,
we've said it in other different ways. Is that this thing? Can I ask, you're a CrossFit level 1 coach, am I right in saying
I
that?
am indeed. Yeah, yeah.
How much of, because I know you did Dublin Marathon, and we'll get back into the Ring Kerry stuff. I want to know about, do you know much about CrossFit endurance, and did that play a part in your marathon training? So I've read about guys like Brian McKenzie. If anyone's ever read Tim Ferriss's book, he was supposed to do the 4 hour marathon. It's based on CrossFit endurance. Is like most of your, it's almost 80-20 switched, where it's like hard runs and then leaves out the easy runs. It's just waste your time in that. And then he was supposed to build towards a marathon, and then didn't do it. But some people are built for it. Did that come into a play at all towards your marathon training, or is CrossFit something separate to running for you?
No, 100%. CrossFit, I still believe, and I wouldn't train, I suppose, to the higher level that I used to train with in CrossFit, obviously, because obviously just with demanding family and work and everything else and time, I suppose, is the big thing now. But I still firmly believe that you practice CrossFit and you can be prepared to put your foot into anything, to be honest. And like I've trained CrossFit for years and still do. Trained for an hour and 10 minutes with a group this morning, and all CrossFit movements. And I do believe that if you obviously train CrossFit in few different modalities, training your endurance, your anaerobic and aerobic thresholds, like you can be fit for anything. You can throw yourself into a marathon. You can throw yourself into a 10K with just focusing on your CrossFit. To be honest, obviously,
Mm.
the stronger you are, the heavier you get. Maybe I saw us going fast is harder, I suppose. But and then like honestly, I always kind of had the background of the engine, so I suppose that helped with the CrossFit and also helped with the running as well. Coming from CrossFit to running, do you know what I mean? So I'm not just going to say it works for everyone, but it certainly
Yeah.
benefited me for everything I do. Like even training for the 100K, I did 100K last year for charity, for the NICU ward in Drogheda Hospital, and raised a lot of money for them. But like for that training alone for the 100K, I probably would have done a lot more CrossFit than actually running, to be honest, at the time.
When you say CrossFit, like some people may be thinking double unders, some people may think Olympic lifts, handstand walks. Or it's so varied to some people. Like, what are the misconceptions of CrossFit? And when you say CrossFit, what kind of training are you talking about?
Obviously, for the CrossFit and leading in, I would have done a lot of gymnastics, still do Olympic lifting, but obviously as I get a little older and you don't dedicate as much time to it, doing those movements is hard, and you really have to focus on the training. Whereas if you're like I was focused for a long time on this run, and even running in general, I was really enjoying my running. So I suppose I was always keeping up the Olympic lifting, which would be great to give the body from a rest from that repetitive road movement on the running. So I really I think it still benefits me today, for moving patterns, getting I suppose different range of motions in your arms, your legs, everything like that. It all helps. It really does. And I've found if you focus on your CrossFit, you can really put your hand into anything, as I said earlier. So yeah, I still love it today. Don't get to do as much as I'd like.
One thing I always look at as well when I get back into lifting weights or I start doing other movements that I'm pushing the range of motion and I realize there is no range. It's
Yeah.
just barely motion. How long does it take from the coaching side and from a training side? Maybe you didn't really notice it because you've always kind of had a hand into everything. But when new people are starting in the likes of that, how long before you see, I know how long's a piece of string, we always say it, but
Yeah.
everyone's individual, but how long before you really see a different, and obviously being consistent over a couple of weeks, but
And that
to
you
really look back at yourself and go, this is great. You know, I'm really noticing a difference in my
yeah.
range of motion.
I definitely think like you definitely need it depends on your background, as we said, very individualized there question. And then obviously the key element you said in the question is consistency. How consistent you can be. If you can get in there 5 days a week, I definitely think you can see benefits after 6 months in your range of motion, whether it be overhead or even getting down below parallel. For some people who's squatting isn't below parallel, do you know what I mean? So, and I always, as a coach and still do, would always train and lads, if your bum isn't below your knee, let's just not lift heavier. Like don't have to go any heavier, and just try and
Yeah.
focus and get that
Yeah.
bum below parallel. And same with overhead. If your arms are in front of your head instead of behind, let's just focus on that for now. And who cares what's on the bar or not on the bar? It's all about getting that range of motion, because to be honest, like there's a great 1% in lots of gyms that can do everything and they're amazing, but it's the general public that you're really focusing on, and they're the ones that are going to feel the benefit of, I suppose, going outside the gym, whether it be in 20 or 30 years time trying to find a chair with your bum or stuff like that. I always find that like it's just getting that full range of motion. That's what's going to help you outside of the gym more so than lifting 100 kg over your head. You know what I mean? So
Does it hurt your feelings when you see people adding more weight but doing the weights wrong? How personal do you take that? Do you take addresses and then follow them home? What do you do there, John?
no, I'm pretty easy going as long as they're doing it safe, and as I always say, as long as you're doing it safe, perfect. You belt away. If you're struggling and it's been unsafe and I feel like you could get injured putting heavy stuff on, I'd obviously pull the reins in a little bit. But honestly, if you're smiling leaving in the gym after an hour class with me, and everyone's high fiving and you got a good workout in, and you busted yourself to get to the extra 2 kg, I'm happy enough, to be honest. I'm not going to be a Hitler on it, to be honest.
So, Sean, when you go to a gym that's not yours and you see people doing something that's not, how hard is it to keep the lips sealed?
No, it's not too bad. I'm not that way. I'm not that way inclined, and even these people that love the count and the reps of a 1, 2, 10, they don't bother me either, man. To be honest, if you stay in your own lane, you can only look after yourself. And as I always said, if they want to count really fast on their reps, look, if who you outdoing, you're not outdoing me. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, as I said, if they're smiling after counting 1 to 10 in a second, let them at it. If they're happy, they're getting fitter, whether it be right or wrong, they're still getting fitter and they're smiling. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, no, I'm not too hard on my clients or the lads coming in, the girls coming into the gym. I'm not hard on them at all.
You're way too nice, Sean.
Yeah, probably am. Yeah, probably am. Yeah.
Eric is pushing buttons on one side in this CrossFit thing. I'm going to push a little button on the opposite side. Some people would say that Hirox is taking over CrossFit. What are your honest thoughts on Hirox?
Oh yeah, I look at I've done them. I enjoy it. Yeah, it's I suppose it's accessible for everyone. And look, it's a good money spinner. I suppose they're making a lot of money out of it, but
Absolutely.
it's it's so frustrating. I honestly, as coach, I got all these early codes and everything. I still didn't get a ticket for Dublin this year. And it's so, and my gym I work with, SPF Drogheda, are affiliated with Hirox. We had early codes and still didn't get one. So look, it's great. It's very accessible. It's great that it can reach to so many different people and in different walks of life. And I love that about it. It is easy. I'm not going to lie. You can go out and do it. You don't need much training. You don't need much skill. And I suppose that's the big appeal. Um, and that's why people don't really like CrossFit, because you have to show up. You have to put in the effort or you won't see the reward. So it's like everything these days. Everyone wants it to tap a button. And unfortunately, CrossFit's not like that. You're going to have to put in the work if you want to see the results. And Hyrox, you don't. Every time you do one, you'll get a couple of seconds or a couple of minutes better. So whereas CrossFit, you really have to put the head down and focus on technique, and I suppose be very consistent. And so but I do love it. Like, it's getting people out there, it's getting people fit. So yeah, more the merrier, to be honest. Yeah.
We're drawing comparisons, but in reality, it's two different sports. I suppose, and as you said, one has become, I don't want to say the running, because obviously there's weightlifting, there's strength training involved, but as accessible as running. Obviously, if you have a gym membership and you're getting to the right things, we talk about the money spin element. That's probably one of the one of the factors that's implicating people getting involved in it a little bit much is, as you said, getting the tickets for these events. But gyms like yourselves are running little internal competitions and stuff to keep people motivated, which is, it's great to see. And from our perspective, people who said they would never run are starting to run a little bit. They're starting to do 1Ks and 2Ks and 3Ks, all of it with mixing in a bit of weight. So it's introducing a lot of people into running, and you've always loved both. Have you found now a lot of members enjoying group training sessions that are involving a run, intervals, and a few other things?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I like, our gym has, over since CrossFit started, or so since the Hirox started, and we've introduced classes. Like, they're very busy, and people do, as much as they were used to give out, and I threw in a running workout in a CrossFit class, they're now running twice, 3 times a week through the Hirox, and they'll still complain, but they're doing it and they're smiling, but it is, look, as I said, it's great to see so many people out there running, and especially this time of year when the marathons are coming up and the races and stuff like that. Like, our roads here around Drogheda on a Sunday morning or a Saturday morning, it is really busy, and that's great. It's great to see it.
When it comes to your running training, obviously Sean has a list of things. You have done a couple of marathons, Do you remember your first marathon? What was your first marathon?
My first marathon, I think my first marathon was with a friend going across the Tawn Way here in County Louth across Carlingford. We did 40 odd K with a friend of mine, and
looking for a pint.
Yeah, across the mountains, more or less, across the mountains, and I love trail running. I absolutely love it, and we did one together just on a Saturday morning early, and I think we ended up 44K. It was great. And then the first road one I ever did was in Dublin. Got a ticket. I think someone got injured, and I said I'd take it. That was 2 weeks out, and just jumped in, and I loved it. I loved the buzz of Dublin. It's incredible. Like,
Mm.
so I since that, like, I've always wanted to do it, every year. You know what I mean? But I'm not like, I love running. I'm not a big racer. I wouldn't go to loads of 10Ks or 5Ks. I do the local ones here. I did the Termafeck and half marathon there not so long ago, and I did a few trail races this year and stuff. But I just love getting out with friends or my own, like, if But I wouldn't I haven't put my head down and said I want to be a sub 3 hour marathoner just yet. It's coming, but I haven't put my full focus into that marathon distance just yet. And on the time, I haven't focused on time. I've done a lot of training with people that were focused on the time, and I enjoyed it, but not work, like, not,
Mhm.
it's a lot of
It's
discipline.
a lot of work.
It's a lot of work, yeah. Like, I firmly believe if you want to go fast, it's great to be going with lads that are in around the same pace as you. When you're
Yeah.
training and you're going, like, we go out and there's 6 or 7 there on a Sunday morning, and that's great fun. But, like, going out on your own, suffering for the work you need to put in for a sub 3 hour is hard. Like, and I don't think it's too enjoyable. Well, for me, just yet, it's not too enjoyable. I do love the marathon, but just haven't put my whole focus into that just yet.
It's one thing a lot of people say when you pick up running until you find your own level and then find others around that. And that's why run clubs are becoming so popular.
Yeah,
Once you get down for the first couple of sessions, you find your own level and you're pretty much guaranteed to find people who are around you at all levels. But I suppose when you're trying to get out for sessions on your own, particularly with a 3 hour marathon, that pool, well, maybe it's
yeah.
just because me and Sean are not in that pool. That pool does get a lot smaller.
Yeah, yeah. But look, every time I rock up to the marathon in Dublin, I'd like to see a bit of progress, and I've made that every year. So hopefully this year I will hopefully be sub 3:05. But who knows? I don't know. And that's not focusing too hard on it. Obviously, I the big build up to this rate or this challenge that was 2 weeks ago, and obviously looking at the mileage here, it's totally different focus. Do you know what I mean? Like, I have a great
Yeah.
aerobic base, but unfortunately, you're going to be hitting the anaerobic in the marathon for me anyway. I'm going to be pushing
Pretty
them.
quick.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's just switching up the training now and making sure the body is able for it just after the mileage just gone.
So when you look at marathons, you've done a couple of marathons, and you touched on the fact that you went to 100K. Was it the days in the hills looking for the pints that you decided, "Do you know what, I could probably go further"? Is it charity driven, or is it just a case of how far can I go?
Honestly, like, I can tell you it's about this, that, and the other, but it's about finding how far I can go, like, personally, because, like, if it's not internal for myself, like, you can only go so far on external, driven. Like, I love being able to do something for it, but honestly, for that 100K, like, I would have done it without anyone knowing. But it was
Yeah.
actually my wife said to me, she goes, like, "Would you not just do it for something? Like, everyone would think you're mad if you just go want to run 100K." And I was like, "But sure, if you want to organize it, I'll do the running, and you can organize the charity end of it." So in fairness, that's what she did, and I just did the running because that's the part I enjoy. It's great to be able to give back, and I'm in a very privileged position to be able to go out and run 100K and give that amount of money to charities, which is phenomenal. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a big bonus, but, like, when you want to get down to nuts and bolts of it, it is internal. It's how far can I go, and the 100K I could have ran for more, and I know that, and that's why I went to the 100 mile, I suppose, and yeah, with this next one. So yeah, it's definitely
That
internal. It's the driver.
that initial spark of the 100K, because I know for me, brutally honest, and people have different opinions of them. I heard about, read the Goggins book or listened to the Goggins book, David Goggins, and the 100 miles and the 24 hours and that kind of thing. I was like, oh. And I was like, that is something that just, I had just done a Dublin Marathon. I was away in holidays and I had these same headphones in my ear and listened to it. And I was like, that's the goal. That was my spark to build towards getting that goal. Was there anything for you that went 100K for that last year? Like, well, what made you go, right, that's the goal?
Uh, it was just a combination. I just it was intriguing. Like, I had ran the
Mm.
marathon. I'd 50K a couple of weeks before that, the 100K, and I just felt like there's so much more in the tank, you know, and I just wanted to find out, was the 100K, would I get there? What was the limit, And I just, we organized that, and I just said to one of my good friends, I said, here, I'm going to run from Uri back to Drogheda. It's in around 100K. I said, will you crew me in 2 weeks? And he says, yeah, I'll be there. So and that's
Two
all I
weeks.
needed. Yeah, oh, it was 2 weeks. I did a
2 weeks.
good bit of training. The weather was class here last summer for that, and I did a lot of training on the ergs. To be honest, low and slow on a rower, a skier, and a bike erg. Just soaked up the sun outside the gym below when I had time, and then I did a good bit of running as well, and then I just went at it. And then obviously a couple of days out, Megan organised the whole charity, and that all quickly just got escalated, and honestly the local community got behind it, but it was all just drop the hat. I went to 50, loved it, said, right, let's just go to 100 and see can I make it.
In 2 weeks, you raised eight from
Yeah,
nothing, raised over €8,000. Absolutely
yeah,
phenomenal to get that support behind you.
yeah, incredible. But sure, we have an amazing group of people, community here, especially with the gym and our friends and family. Like, yeah, they just got behind it. SKF Drogheda and Dundalk, they're an amazing bunch of people. And obviously, I'm rooted in there with it being coaching and stuff like that. So it's great to be able to have that. And honestly, I had so many people jumping in on that run, just felt easy. Do you know what I mean? Like it
Mm.
really did. There was points in it. I was a bit sick coming through, I suppose, at about 60, 70K. The gels just didn't sit well. And, I either had to come out behind or it's coming out in front. So
Oh no.
I got rid of that. And then I came back to life. And to be honest, I was fine after that. So the body really responded well. And even I hit the 100K. I did the Eco Trail last September as well, the 80K, and
Brilliant.
I loved that race. Great group, and I really enjoyed that one. And the distance, like when I'm looking at stuff like that, I'm never off by the distance. Like
Mm.
and fairness, like running, you can either go there, you can't. Like you're not going to hurt anyone. It's
Yeah,
trial and error. And
Just
nothing.
just your ego.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. And
everyone has that's gone to those 80, 100Ks. You make your ego and stuff, but they're like, you actually, they either go, geez, I can't believe you attempt that, or those that have attempted that know what it's like. And it's like,
yeah,
some days just not there. DNFs, injuries happen. So
that's it.
there's really no ego hurting in when you get to those distances.
No, and look at it, like the people that are doing the distances, and there's some amazing athletes out there, especially in Ireland at the moment, like the trail racing and then the 100Ks. Like we have such a
Mm.
big pool of people that are amazing, but they do the work. Like, and I said to
Mm.
anyone, I went down to Kerry 2 weeks ago, and I knew, and I had no shadow of doubt that I was going to do that. I had put in the work, I had sacrificed for the 2 months before that. I put myself through the paces of twice a day, sometimes 3 times a day, training, food, sleep, everything that you needed to be at that level. I did it, and I firmly believe. I knew going down in the van with the lads in the camper van, there was never a shadow there. I was going to do that, whether it was just going to happen, and that was just it. The work was done. I was just going to show it off then on the way around the ring of Kerry, to be honest.
What was the body feeling like when it was getting to 3 times a day training, and what kind of training were you doing?
Honestly, a lot of running. So the volume was obviously August was hitting over 140, 130K a week. I would double up on a lot of days. I'd probably go probably twice. One early in the morning. I'd always get out before the kids and stuff got up from school and so or for school. So get out for an hour and a half, and get probably 12 to 15k in, and then I go back out in the evening if I could squeeze something in. It could be 40 minutes. Megan was picking the kids up from football. I'd be home in a half an hour. I'd get out for half an hour, and I'd maximize my time. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that's really, like, obviously I'm not going to say I had full time schedule of running. It was, if I got home early from work and there was no one here, I was gone, and I'd make the
Go on.
time.
Disappear.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of
Yeah.
people would listen to that and that haven't done that, and they go, geez, a half hour, hang on, you're trying to run for 163 kilometers. What's a half hour going to do? But all those little
Oh,
kilometers build
absolutely.
up.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
long did it take you to build to those 130 kilometers per week? Because some might listen and go, right, because in a couple of weeks' time, when people do the double marathon, myself and Eric always say it, is there's going to be two choices there. It's either I need to go faster or you're going to get that itch to go longer. And some
Longer.
might just go, well, Sean did 130k a week and I need to build to that now and just do it straight away. So how do you build from doing marathon distance to adding the 50k like you did, and then straight to 130k training mileage a week, which is a hell of a lot?
Yeah, yeah. The final week of the train of my block was 180k. I touched on for that week, and
Wow.
I like I responded really well. But like, as I said, like, we were just going to talk about how do you build up to that.
Mm.
Slowly. Mid July, it was like probably the start of July, end of June, I was at probably 65, 75k a week, um, for fun. Not really. I knew I had it in my head that I was going to do this. I just didn't set a date yet, so I knew it was coming, and then I just slowly started to ramp up and throw in an extra long run, during the week if I had time, or else double up. So double up days were really good for building the volume. Do you know what I mean? And then, to be
Mm.
honest, you kind of found out if your body was able for the volume, because if you can do, say, two 10Ks, or even a 12k in the morning or a 12k in the evening, and see how you feel the next morning. Can you get up and run 10k again? You kind of know if your body is built for that volume,
Mm.
because not everyone responds the same. Like, you know, like, a lot of people I talk to, and they're like amazed how I could get up the next morning and still run 10k or 12k the next day without any kind of pains or stiffness. Like, obviously there's always going to be a little bit of stiffness and pain. You're running all the time, but there was nothing that would ever tell me to stop. So, like, it's just trial and error, and seeing what works for you. As I said, my body responds really well to the volume, and introducing it nice and slowly. You don't go from 60 to 120 in 2 or 3 week spaces. You give it 10, you give it 20 every week, and build slowly. And I'd always firmly believe, keep your strength up. Like, people go to
Mm.
marathon training and then they give up everything else, and next of all you're injured, and you're like, well, why did you give up the other stuff? You just have to kind of incorporate it in. It might have to come down to once or twice a week, but the moving patterns, like, I tell a lot of people, like, the running is repetitive. You might go fast, you might go slow, but everything's moving in the same direction. It's moving at the same angle, same range of motion. Whereas if you get into a gym and do your squats, or your split squats, or your whatever it is, Bulgarians, it's all different range of motion. So you're putting different stress in the body, and it really helps when you get onto the road then for the strength and the volume that you're doing. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it's definitely trial and error. No shoe fits everyone. So it's finding out what your body can take, and then building on that. And if it's three days on and one full day off, and you respond better like that, well, that's just what you have to do. Yeah. So.
Sounds like you're self-coached.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, yeah. No, 100%. Yeah, self-coached for sure. I have a lot of good friends in the industry that ask a lot of questions, and the really good coaches in my local gym. Keith Arnold, who's head coach, would be very, very good to talk to about this. And then I run with a lot of lads that are doing a lot of running, and you just feed off that. And I suppose it's just asking the questions, and running with good people that are into what they're doing. And surround yourselves with good people. Did a lot of running with Aoife Fay, who was on your podcast. She's a Hirox athlete, and she's local here. And I would have done a lot of training before Aoife went to the Worlds, to Chicago, on the road with her, getting her speed up, getting my speed up, chasing her. and stuff like that. So yeah, it's you just surround yourself with better people and people that love what they're doing and have a common goal, and I think you'll grow within that, you know.
Sean, you talked about trial and error and the body. One bit you touched on was struggling in your first 100K with the nutrition and stomach issues.
Yeah.
Seems to be a common theme we've come across now over the last 8 weeks of interviews. How did you combat that when it comes to the longer runs? How did the trial and error go for you? Have you got it wrong any times that you want to admit to all of our listeners?
I haven't. No, I honestly,
Liar, Sean.
Everyone has one of those stories.
I haven't. I suppose. Yeah, I don't think I've had too many wrong turns now, but this time I just stayed away from gels. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't even bring one gel, Kerry. You know, I
Yeah.
don't. I'm gonna drop it in here, but I started with speed dust from Conor O'Keefe Alter, nutrition, calorie drink. I started that in July. I read about it and I talked to another lad that was taking it, and I just said, I'll get one and try it, see how it responds, see how it sits in my stomach. And honestly, I got great response out of it. I used that from probably start of July, August, all my training. And then Kerry was 500 mils speed dust, 500 mils water was what I was carrying at all times. And then solid food, as much solid food as I could take. Lots of trail mix going around Kerry. My wife had an amazing platter of sushi, rice, whatever you could name. It was there in the
Oh,
camper,
yeah.
and I just got it into me, lads, as much as I could, and I had a great team around me in the van, and they couldn't have done enough for me, to be honest, keeping me fed, keeping me hydrated, and but the nutrition it's a massive part. It's a neat, like as I say to them, when you want to go that far, you have to be eating, you have to be drinking, and you can't really, you don't get too many second chances, unfortunately, if you, especially in that distance. You know, if the body starts to break down, you're in trouble. You know, so but
Just
yeah,
touching on the gels there. Am I right in saying, so if you did Dublin this year, you would go back to gels because it's that speed, that
yeah,
pace you need the gels for? 'Cause I'm saying myself, once I go over 42, even in Dundee, I don't touch gels.
yeah,
I'm not fast enough. So it take me like 30, 40 seconds break and I'll have a bit of food and get
exactly.
whatever I can and straight back out again. And it's just a lot easier on my stomach and that. But when you're doing marathons, you're saying, I can't remember before the podcast, like you're going for near a 3:05 pace, which is phenomenal. You're still gels in every whatever and go from there.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I actually had this conversation with someone the other day. Like, he was asking me, "What are you going to do for the marathon?" I said, "Oh well, like the marathon is going to be over in just under 3.5 hours. By the time your body starts to react to the gels, you'll be finished. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
you want the quick carbs, and obviously carrying the water is a bit of inconvenience if you're going faster. And the 500 of water or 500 of speed dust, I'd rather just have the couple of gels in my pockets and belt away with that. And I'd always have in the marathon, I'll always have 3 salt tabs as well, one every 45 for myself. So that's kind of what I
Oh,
do in the marathon. Yeah. Yeah, and then I might take a drop of water on here, there, and everywhere around the course, but generally I wouldn't carry water or anything like that. It'd be just gels and 3 salt tabs.
I eat everything. So I,
not do a
I
runner, just
haven't.
anything you want to put up there.
I like because a lot of people are saying I've had stomach issues, and Sean, I tell you, there's not a gel in this world I haven't
So
just picked up off the ground and tried, and
yeah,
I just get around. I don't know what it is. Years of punishment and army food, probably.
yeah,
The Sean, when you look at a challenge like this, obviously last year's success, 100K, huge support. It had to be progressively bigger for you this time, and the cause that you're doing it for. Do you mind telling us some of the background, the motivation, and
yeah,
what's
yeah.
driving you to
Uh,
run around Kerry?
yeah. Well, look, it started off internally. Obviously, I hit the 100K, which is amazing. I got amazing support and the whole lot. But I wasn't, I suppose, personally satisfied. I knew I could go further when I hit that. So I knew there was obviously going to be more. And then when I figured out that it was if I go for 100K, I'll have to try and hit the 100 mile. And so that's how that came about. Was looking at courses, where could I figure it out. I was going to try and do the Connemara 100 miler race, but it just didn't line up with work and stuff like that. So I couldn't get to do that. And then I just looked, said, what's the Kerry? I knew it was about 160 because we cycled the year before with a group of us. And I said, oh, just do that. So I got on my Strava, plotted a route, and then, yeah, just figured out, right, that's what we're going to do. So, and then for the charity, I picked ACT Meningitis Ireland because close to home, my nephew was, he's a meningitis, lives with meningitis today. He got it when he was 1, and yeah, he's used ACT, I suppose, over the years, and his parents have used for support and everything else in between. And they're just a great small charity to do amazing work and create amazing awareness with an illness that leaves 1 in 5 people with disabilities for life, when they survive it. And then obviously there's lots of deaths and stuff through meningitis as well. But like it's just something, and the guys there are just selfless people, really, and they do amazing work, and that's why we picked that charity. And yeah, it was just close to home because we see it day in, day out of the, I suppose, the outcomes of it.
And you said driving down, it wasn't in doubt. When you add in charity and you add in support and you add in a lot of pressure,
Yeah.
do you feel that pressure when you're 120K in and you've got the Caja pass ahead of you and a few others, and you're like, oh,
No,
this is a long day
I'd
getting
be
there.
lying to say I did feel the pressure, because like I just didn't. I didn't have. The only pressure I had was the internal pressure of, can you do this? You've said it now. You have to back it up. But I never felt that. Like, if anyone, like, I never felt pressure from anyone at all. Maybe my kids saying, "Dad, you better win this race," but they didn't a clue. Like, do you know what I mean? What you were doing, but they're 4.5. So, but there was no pressure from charity or people. And look, if there's always going to be people out there that you say you can't do this and you can't do that, but like yeah, it's never any pressure on my back from that. If I did the work, I know everything's going to be okay. The pressure would have been if I was pretending to do the work, and that would have been pressure, and I think I would have felt it more. But going down, knowing that I've put in the hard graft and stuff like that, I didn't feel any pressure. No, I didn't.
Sean, did you start in the same route as the Ring of Kerry, starting
I
and
started in,
go?
yeah, went anti-clockwise. Yeah.
Oh, so
Uh,
you went the opposite way.
yeah, anti-clockwise. So
I was thinking that's slightly smarter.
yeah, anti-clockwise, and then obviously went out through Fossa and on that way out to Carsavine. But I started at 3 p.m. Obviously the traffic out there, if you ever done that, it can be crazy at times. So we started at 3 p.m. and I knew obviously I'd be coming to a lot of the stuff when it was dark and evening time, and there'd be no one on it. So that's why I
Right.
chose running from 3 till whenever I finished. So that's why I chose that time. And then anti-clockwise is just, it was actually someone told me that the buses go anti-clockwise or something. There's some rule about the buses going on their tours, they go in anti-clockwise. So I just said I might as well be running again with them instead of
In the
against them.
direction
Do you
with
know what
them.
I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, stuff like that. And then honestly, I didn't really focus too hard on which way it was going. I just said, this Strava, I set my Strava, and I was like, should just do that. And that was it, really.
Did you sleep at all, or
No,
how did you rest?
no,
Or
I didn't rest. Honestly, from start to finish, I had an amazing crew who ran with me for the whole thing. One jumping in, one jumping out. They rested themselves, slept in the back of the van. We had a designated driver who did amazing work. I suppose everything was dialed in. So I ran for probably 21, 22, I think, and then 25. And then when we got there, it was a lot. Like, the lads found that distance a lot, and the volume, which it was a lot. And then I just said, "Do you know what we do now? We'll take it back to 10Ks." So every time I got to the van, the lads would set a timer for 10 to 15 minutes. And I said, no, no stop longer than 15 minutes.
Right.
And I really, they hammered in every 4 hours was kind of a bigger pit stop, which would be change socks, look after the feet, change t-shirt, stuff like that, shorts, and just look after yourself. Always brush my teeth a good few times to keep myself fresh, stuff like that. But no, never a minute's sleep. Sat on a chair for a while. My right ankle just took a little bit of pounding from probably 85 on. I suppose it's the curvature of the road. Just
Curve in the road.
yeah. So that started swelling. I could feel that coming down when I started coming down the hills. I could feel the pull on that ankle. So other than that, like everything, I couldn't have asked for better weather. I couldn't have asked for better team around me, and honestly, the nutrition just everything just went well. I never had a moment of rejection from the stomach. Even had a solid poo in the middle of it, which is always nice, you know. So
Everything's sticking over.
everything's working fine. But yeah, like everything, I couldn't ask for better, and it was just one of those days. I suppose everything just went to plan, and yeah, everything played the game, and I suppose the outcome was great. It was amazing. 17 and a half hours. So
As you're
Unreal.
coming in 17 hours with 30 minutes to go, you know there's 5K and you know you're starting to come into Killarney. You can see it as you come along the coast road. How was that feeling for you?
it was amazing. Yeah, it was amazing. The road felt like it went on forever now, I'm not going to lie to you. And the traffic started to come at that time, and it was just relentless. But it, it, the feeling was getting closer. You know, you were getting home, and I actually had a bit of a moment for the lads that was three of them running behind me at one stage, and I was frustrated. The ankle was sore, probably hungry and tired, and I just let out a
Just a bit.
roar and took off for 3K at 4:10 pace, just as I
Jesus.
uh, just as a bit of a frustration let out, and the boys were like, "What the hell's going on?" So they just stayed
Get
where
in the
they
van
were.
quick.
Yeah, exactly. So I kept going. I think I hit three and a half K, and I came to a little hill then, and I couldn't run at that speed up the hill, so I just took it back then and apologized to them there. I said, I just had to let that go there. I was frustrated. The road was going on forever and stuff like that. But um, other than that, like like coming over Mall's Gap, looking at Killarney in the distance was a great feeling. You know, you're even though it's a long way, it's still a very long way to go. But you know you're there. You know the back is broken out. The daylight has come through, and everything is moving well and responding well. And my wife and kids are awake now, and they're looking for us to finish. You know.
Yeah, hurry up.
Yeah, exactly.
I wish I could let out my frustration by running a 4:10 pace after
Yeah,
doing that
yeah.
17 plus hours of running. When you got in to Killarney, then the finish line, that feeling, because you had that kind of, I knew I could do this from the get go. How did you feel crossing that finish line?
I felt amazing. Yeah, the kids and the nephew and everyone was there, and wife and families, my side and her side, and just people's really good friends were there, and it was just amazing. Yeah, just a sense of relief, and I put it out there for the world, and I obviously I knew I could do it, but not everyone thinks like that, and it was great to be able to say to show people that like you can do anything if you put your head down, and I really believe that, and it was a great feeling, yeah, great feeling. Tired, but it was an amazing feeling, yeah, amazing feeling,
What's
yeah.
what's the first thing you look for? We'll say the nice things, of course, it's your family, Sean, but when you get the movie stuff out of the way, what's the first thing you look for afterwards? Is it a shower? Is it a seat? Is it a pint?
A
Is
pint.
it different food? What cravings happen, I suppose? Because I've never gone over the marathon.
I am
What
not like
cravings
I'd be
happen when you
lying
cross the
to.
finish line, or is it just bed? Is it
It
just
wasn't
bed?
even bad. It was just we got back, we got into the car, and we had the chats in the car park in Killarney, across in the Killarney Gardens there where I started, and we just went back to the Airbnb we had, and we had a big breakfast with all the crew and everything else, and the lads are looking for points, but I don't think I would have made it would have been great company. So I just chilled. I chilled and up to bed for an hour. But I didn't look for anything, didn't crave anything. We Megan had a massive big spread for everyone, and we had a couple of cups of coffee and stuff like that. And I went up to bed for an hour to, I suppose, to roll around in ache and pain. But
Yeah,
no, I
it's not
didn't.
sleep.
No, it's not
Yeah,
sleep. No, I didn't sleep properly.
Yeah,
I'd say for about 3 days after it, with
yeah,
the
pure shock.
recovery. The body was in shock. The ankle was like a balloon. Um, but look, at the sense of achievement outweighed everything there. To be honest, like yeah, it really did. And just seeing the crack the kids were having running around and everything else, like yeah, that's what meant the most, I suppose. And hopefully laying foundations for lots of hope to come in down the road with all the kids that we have between ourselves. So it's great.
Sean, horrible question coming up after doing something like that, but you laid the foundation for it because last
No.
year you did a 100K run. You know where I'm going with this. Last year you
Yeah,
did a
yeah.
100K run. This year's the 100 mile. At what stage has it clicked in? What's next? Have you thought that far ahead now, or even during that you might have been thinking, "Oh, this is in the bag," even though the ankle's a bit sore. Did the mind
uh,
start spinning? What could do next?
yeah, there's definitely elements. I have something that I like to do, but I won't put it out there just yet. Um, but
Yeah,
um,
it's all
but
right. You can tell us, Sean. We're not going to tell anyone.
Let's
but
start recording. It's fair.
Not record.
But no, nothing on the horizon anyway. Get this Dublin Marathon done. Hopefully, someone out there now after listening to this will give me a Hirox singles tickets for Dublin. I can jump into that. But regards running, we'll wait till next year. We'll wait till next year to put something big in the channels, and because my wife will probably kill me if I launch something now. Do you know what I mean? Because there's so much sacrifice going into this. But
And
no,
with
it's
the way you do fundraising, I'm having a GoFundMe for a new kitchen. And Sean,
yeah,
whenever
yeah. Well, if you ever
if you
need
didn't
anything,
feel pressure this year, you're gonna feel it next year. I tell you.
if you ever need anything organised, just let my wife know. There, she's amazing and all that stuff. And honestly, I can't take too much responsibility for all that side of it because it is anything like this, lads, is such a team event. Like it's such a
Yeah, absolutely.
like I'm doing the work on the roads and stuff like that, and the gym, and it's great. But there's so much that goes on around it, to keep you fed, you keep you rested, and and keep stuff off your plate that you'd normally have on it, so you can do all this, And then in general, getting out on the road like for that, it's a privilege. Like I'm privileged to be able to run around the ring of Kerry and be able to do that in good health and good spirits. And yeah, it is really is. And running in general is a privilege, and it's great that so many people are jumping onto it and enjoying it as well.
Absolutely, and it's getting like Eric said at the start of the podcast. It is getting a lot bigger and bigger, and
Yeah,
more people seem to be getting out there.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Um,
Sean, how can people still support? Because obviously, the fundraising element is still up and running, and will be, I suppose, for another little while.
yeah, yeah.
How
Well,
can people still support the cause?
yeah, well, it's on iDonate, and I think I sent you guys the link, so hopefully you put it up on this podcast, and yeah, and through my socials, Shawnee C85, on Instagram and stuff like that, and I have my link through there, and yeah, just keep pushing that money, lads. They do great work and great awareness, and hopefully there'll be people talking about this for a while, and create that awareness as well that meningitis needs, to help people. So yeah,
Absolutely. And on that note, Sean, thank you very much for coming on the podcast. Congrats again, getting that in and raising over €12,000 so far, €12,500. It's absolutely brilliant what you've done. Best of luck to the Dublin Marathon. I'm sure
thanks,
someone
lads.
listening, you'll find a way of getting that Hirox ticket. So best
Hopefully,
of luck with that
hopefully.
in November as well.
Thanks, lads. Appreciate your time.
That's it for this week's episode of the Any Given Run Day podcast from myself, Sean, and Eric. Take care.
Thanks, lads.